all these things have tackled health by looking within. So this same thing, how can you support me with your story? I don't know. What do you do? Well, we can take that offline. You can always Twitter me at Bethany Londyn. You can find me everywhere, Bethany Londyn. So it's so cool. It's so cool and so true that everything begins with us. So we got to seek guidance from our own selves and connect with our inner resource, our inner knowledge, and trust ourselves. We got to trust ourselves before we can trust other people. I mean, hello. Hello. Oh, well, I'm definitely doing something around that for my startup. Yeah, it's all about changing the health consciousness of America and then expanding throughout the world. So I have it on my title. So check it out. Check it out. So bottom line is, this is about relationships, but you can take the message anywhere. You can take it to work. You can take it to your friends, your family, your coworkers. But here's another quote I liked. Cease trying to work everything out with your minds because it will get you nowhere. Live by intuition and inspiration and let your whole life be a revelation. Be a revelation. So she starts off by sharing this story about this guy named Chad. So Chad and Janice. Now Chad meets Janice, and Janice is going through a divorce. She's still going through divorce, but they're in the phase where they are. Can I explain what a startup is? A startup is a company that you're starting off the ground. So it's a company, and now there's a cool name for it called startup. It's become a cool name. So going back to this, though, in relationships, Chad is dating Janice. He loves Janice, but at first he was very reserved because she's still getting divorced. I mean, hello, that's normal, right? To be reserved around something like that. But he decided he's a spiritual man, so he decided to be open because that's how he should be. He felt based on conversations that he had with other people. And so bottom line is, after some time, and Janice was always like, no, things are going to be fine. Things are very good. We're done. There's no way we're going to get back together. Well, sure enough, she ended up deciding to go back to counseling with her ex-husband, or I guess he never became an ex, to work on it. And then Chad is like, damn, I should have trusted my intuition instead of listening to everybody else and trying to be something and override what he was feeling inside. Catherine Woodward Thomas says that when the stock market fell in 2000, I'm sure some of you, oh yeah, there you go, it's just starting up. Perfect. You have a startup. We're talking about relationships, and today specifically, so we're going through, there's 7 weeks, so every single day we're doing a chapter. And today it's about listening to our inner guidance versus listening to everybody else around us about what to do. And how every time we override that, it's pushing us farther and farther away from listening to our inner truth. So Catherine Woodward Thomas, the author, shares that around the stock market crash in 2000, her stocks had dropped a little bit, like $500, and she felt this nagging feeling to sell everything. And she's like, no, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But for like a week straight, she felt like she was supposed to sell, and she didn't. Calling in the One by Catherine Woodward Thomas, 7 weeks to attract the love of our life. So sure enough, she didn't pull her money out, and she ended up losing thousands and thousands of dollars. So if she had been really in tune to her inner guidance, she could have saved a lot of money. If Chad was in tune to his intuition with Janice, he could have saved some heartache. So, yeah. I mean, I had a house. I do have houses that are still negative. But anyways, okay, so whenever we do not listen to our inner guidance, our ability to discern between these two lines of reasonings become more and more compromised. So I'm calling it ego. She doesn't say that, but I'm calling it ego because I believe that our ego is what is overriding. It's what overrides our intuition at all times, because really our ego is there to protect us. That's what it thinks it's doing. But sometimes you just got to say thank you and goodbye. I'm going to trust myself, you know? So had Chad listened to his better judgment instead of an ever-increasing need for feedback and approval from his friends and family about this relationship he was in, then he would be somewhere else. She also goes into something that I sometimes see myself doing. When times get really gray, let's say, or you're just really curious about something, sometimes I will totally go to horoscopes. And she is talking about this one lady here that goes and reads her horoscope every single morning before she leaves the house and decides basically what kind of day, what kind of activities she's going to do around her horoscope. So because she's so dependent on a horoscope reading, she's completely let go of her own personal truth and her own guidance. She's constantly pushing and farther away from listening to her own inner truths and intuition. So, surrendering is the beginning of wisdom. You must begin to trust yourself. If you do not trust, then you will forever be looking outward to prove your own merit to you. That's why I'm calling it the ego. You will always be asking others what to do, and at the same time resenting those from who you seek such aid. Yes, I love that. I see that all the time when we're in a state of generosity. I've talked, you guys, I do catalyst coaching, not too much of it, but I have done a lot in the past. Life coaching, catalyst, executive coaching. So to me, it's all about be, do, have, give. So let's say you want something, that would be the have. But to have that have, you really want to look at the experience and be in that experience of those feelings, which will also evoke generosity. So when we give, we get and receive. Okay. You can fund my startup if you want. Okay. So asking for our inner guidance is kind of like the first step. So you might hear it and listen to it, but you want to be present and start asking for guidance. And that's kind of another way of looking at it. And then you'll be given the signs everywhere. It's not, the goals by asking are not necessarily to get us what we think that we want, as much as they are to cultivate and encourage our own spiritual growth. Okay, cool. Hit me up. Hit me up. I want to read this part. I don't know if you guys, have you guys, any of you heard of the Conversations with God, that book? Conversations with God. Tap the heart if you've heard of that book. It's amazing. I read all three. I think there's 3. I'm going to share this one little blurb that Catherine Woodward put in here. So go ahead now. This is as if God's speaking. So go ahead now. Ask me anything, anything. I will contrive to bring you the answer. The whole universe will I use to do this. So be on the lookout. The words to the next song you hear, the information to the next article you read, maybe this Periscope you're listening to, the storyline of the next movie you watch, the chance utterance of the next person you meet, or the whisper of the next river, the ocean, the breeze that caresses your ear. All these devices are mine. All these avenues are open to me. I will speak to you if you listen. I will come to you if you will invite me. I will show you then that I have always been there. Always. So the bottom line is that when we're open to receiving the answers, we're going to get them. We're going to get them. And now I'm going to go over how she instructs to start off the stage of getting guidance. And honestly, I do this like every other day. Okay. You're so funny. Okay. So I do this almost every other day. I do it for startup stuff, like processes. Oh my gosh, I had this amazing interview today, and I wanted to journal on what questions I was going to ask her for this video. And I got guidance by doing this exact thing. So what she says is to get out a journal, have your own special journal that is for speaking to God, or your angels, or your higher inner truth. It doesn't really matter if you don't believe in God. It's about accessing another creative way of thinking from a different mindset. Okay, So what you do is you start out the journal and you say, Dear God, dear higher self, personal truth, I invite you to speak through my writing now. So create the invitation like we were just talking about, and then sit there. Sit there for a moment and allow the words to come, flow through your hand. You might be sitting there for 5 minutes. Sometimes my mind is so occupied with thoughts that it's hard to just relax into it. Tap 200 times. I don't know what that means, but if you're talking about hearts, I love hearts. Thank you. So write and then be present and invite a higher truth and an inner truth through your writing, through your hand, onto the paper and pen. And I do this, like I said, every other day. It could be about a relationship, it could be about a person, it could be about a way to start a social media thing for my company. It's so powerful. And what she says is that she actually used to do it at about every little thing, and I probably could do it even more if I wanted to. But the idea is that when you start to do and you get into this regular mindset of writing God or your own higher truth, that pretty soon it becomes so automatic for you that you just start to receive the answers and you don't even need to go into the writing stage. So it's so cool. I didn't know other people do this. I do it all the time. She does it. Wow, we're liking the love. Thanks. Thank you. So obviously this is meaning something to some of you guys. Critter. All right. But I really encourage this practice. It sets the tone and it grounds you in what you're creating, kind of like intention that we were talking about in one of the earlier chapters, and vision and how we're going to manifest. It supports all of that, because when I go into my question, yeah, some people can easily do this through meditating. For me, I can meditate, but for me, answers really come when I'm writing. There's a disconnection there for me that allows me to open up. So when I'm writing and just in that state of flow, I'm getting answers, I'm getting creative things that I hadn't even thought of. And you can ask, instead of asking like, should I be dating this Janice girl that just got married, or is getting divorced, sorry. Like, should I be dating her? Like, if you're feeling that, like, write about it. Write about your questions. Don't go call the 800 helpline wanting to talk to a psychic. Like, you have your own truth. You have it in you. And so it's all about accessing that. She calls it the God within, the higher power, the higher self. You can even write, Dear Wisdom. Dear Wisdom, I invite you to write through me now. And then ask your questions. Ask your questions and receive that guidance, and don't judge what you write. You want to feel it. Okay. So thanks for joining. So it could be meditation for you. Maybe writing isn't your thing, but for me it is writing. It's what our chapter's on today. I absolutely love it, and I didn't know that so many other people do it as well. So it's kind of exciting. The dating game is hard now. Only if you say so. I think it's fun. I think it's fun. I'm enjoying meeting men, and is that the situation you're in? Where you like someone and they don't like you? Well, why? So if you were, I don't know if you've been with me for a while now, we're on day 25. So in some of the other things we looked at voids. And so what is it that brings you to unavailable people? I don't know if you look at other past relationships or other people you've been interested. So she's unavailable. Bottom line, she's unavailable. So what attracts you to people that are unavailable? And where has that shown up in your life? Like, not maybe in dating, but in your childhood. Like, were you looking to have friends, or were your parents not around when you wanted them and they were unavailable? And so now you're carrying out that trajectory of what was started as a child. That's something to look at. That's kind of where we were digging into in the first 20 days, I would say. It was a lot of really deep, insightful things around our childhood. So as always, there's always a bonus, practice and action. So